The movie begins with Congressman David Norris, who is running for the United States Senate in 2006. However, he loses his lead after an expose of an old college photo of a prank where he is showing his bare buttocks. On the day of the election, the news predicts a landslide defeat for him. While rehearsing his concession speech in a hotel bathroom, he hears sounds coming from a stall. A strange woman named Elise walks out of the stall barefoot. She explains that she had hidden in the Waldorf's toilet because she had crashed a wedding and the security guards were chasing her. They start a conversation and they start to fall in love with each other. She informs him that she found his prank amusing, and he admits that he is kind of glad that he didn't win as he has some time to himself now. But she doesn't believe him and encourages him to be more honest. Attracted to each other, they start kissing passionately, but are interrupted by David's campaign manager, Charlie, who summons David to give a speech. Elise excuses herself, and David regrets not getting her number when he had the chance. The guards find her, and David does not see her again. Inspired by Elise, David goes off script and makes an honest speech that makes him a favorite for the 2010 Senate race. A month later, a man named Agent Harry and his superior Agent Richardson meet up at a park. Harry is instructed by Richardson to ensure that David spills his coffee on his shirt by 7:05 a.m., so David will miss his bus. However, Harry falls asleep and only wakes up as David gets on the bus, failing in this task. David is surprised to see Elise on the bus, and he approaches her. They catch up on recent events. Meanwhile, Harry chases after the bus and gets hit by a car in the process. He checks his notebook and discovers that David has diverted from the plan. Elise drops David's phone in his coffee because it keeps ringing. Then she writes her phone number on a card, and David promises to call. David, who now works as a senior partner at a firm founded by Charlie, arrives early. As he walks into the building, he greets some employees, not noticing that they seem frozen. He enters the conference room and finds Richardson with other strange men in suits. Charlie is also frozen with these strange men using strange devices on him. Richardson sees David and orders his men to capture him. They chase him, and no matter where he runs, they catch up to him. David locks himself in an office and dials 911, but the men come through the locked door and knock him out. When David wakes up, he overhears Richardson telling his men that David needs to be reset, but the chairman would never sign the order. Richardson then approaches David and introduces himself. Richardson tells him about the Adjustment Bureau. They have a plan for David and are determined to guide his life. The plan was created by the chairman. David thinks he is crazy and tries to escape, but they stop him. Richardson explains further that he was supposed to spill his coffee and get to work late. This way, he wouldn't have seen Richardson adjusting Charlie. If David tells anyone about them, he will be reset, his personality erased and made to appear insane. He adds that his meeting with Elise on the bus should not have happened, and he is told to forget her. They burn the card with her phone number. David tries to remember Elise's phone number, confused by what he's just learned. Then, an embarrassed Harry approaches him. David gets a warning from Harry that the Bureau is like the angels, and that they will do all in their power to prevent him from seeing Elise ever again. 3 years later, David has taken the same bus every day, hoping to see Elise. He sees her on the sidewalk one day, while he is on the bus, and he gets off, and they reconnect. The Bureau notices this meeting. Richardson is informed that Elise is derailing from her plan, but if she doesn't hear from David for 36 hours after they part ways, then she will never forgive him. At the same time, if they kiss, it would be an irreparable deviation from the plan. Richardson follows David and Elise and somehow makes Charlie find them. He tells David about a speech he can't miss. As they lean in for a kiss, Richardson sends a message to Charlie leading him to rush David. He ends up kissing Elise's cheek instead, and Richardson sighs in relief. David promises that nothing will separate them and to see her again soon. David, who is now running again for the Senate seat, sees Richardson at the window as his speech ends. He gets suspicious and goes to the auditorium where Elise is supposed to have a dance rehearsal. He finds it closed and tries to call the ballet company, but the call doesn't go through. The Bureau, who are aware of his next moves, have already taken measures to counter them. Then Richardson decides to approach David. David asks why they are trying to keep him and Elise apart, and he is told it's because of the plan. He replies that the plan is wrong, even if God wrote it. Richardson admits that he also doesn't know why they can't be together. He is just following the plan. David finds out where the ballet company is, and with much difficulty gets a cab. However, the cab gets into an accident almost immediately. When the cops arrive, they hold him for questioning, being the only witness to the accident. Eventually, he figures out that the cop is from the Bureau and he leaves. David races across town, fighting the Bureau's abilities to control his choices to ensure he will meet Elise again. During the chase, the Bureau uses doors to travel far across the city to ensure David doesn't see Elise dancing. David is able to find her and sees her dance. Richardson tells David to celebrate as his superiors will come for him. Richardson finds out that David and Elise were meant to be together in an earlier version of the plan, and Harry speculates on whether or not the plan is always correct. David and Elise spend an evening at a club, drinking and dancing. They spend the night together. Meanwhile, the Bureau assigns Thompson, also referred to as the Hammer, and a more senior authority than Harry, to oversee David's adjustment. David claims he has the freedom to follow his own path when he is lured to a warehouse by Thompson. Thompson sets him free, and he rushes to Elise's Cedar Lake contemporary ballet performance. Thompson follows him and goes on to say that if David stays with Elise, it will harm not only her career as a dancer, but also his chances of becoming president of the United States. To prove his point, he uses his supernatural ability to cause Elise to stumble and hurt her ankle. Thompson tells David it's his fault and the next time would have more damaging consequences, and David punches him. Overwhelmed with his future in jeopardy and faced with hurting Elise, David hugs Elise, tells her he'll make some calls, and abandons her at the hospital. Richardson tells Harry that the work is done. 11 months later, David runs for election again, and he learns that Elise is getting married soon. Harry contacts David because he feels bad about past incidents. After teaching David how to use the doors in order to avert Elise's wedding, Harry admits that Thompson overstated the potential repercussions of a connection between David and Elise. Giving David his hat allows David to open the doors. David finds Elise in the bathroom of the courthouse where she is to be wed. Initially furious and hurt after his earlier desertion, Elise is shocked when David reveals the Bureau's existence to her. They are pursued throughout New York. Following their arrival on Liberty Island, David decides to track down the chairman. Elise comes dangerously close to abandoning David, but she ultimately decides to go with him. Meanwhile, Harry has been summoned by the chairman. David enters Bureau headquarters after Harry forewarned him that only people of his kind were supposed to turn the door handle to the left. The pair is pursued throughout the Bureau, ultimately landing them on a rooftop overlooking New York. They embrace and give each other a deep, passionate kiss, thinking the worst is about to happen. However, the members of the Bureau have vanished by the time they release each other. Thompson appears, but Harry relieves him of his duties and tells David and Elise that the chairman has changed the plan so that they can be together.